Not everybody gets a chance to have a decade-long NBA career, no matter the amount of hype, recognition, and praise being labeled as the next prodigy. Every team's looking for the next franchise superstar. Struggling franchises who finish deep in the lottery have thousands of loyal fans refreshing Tankathon.com and praying to get that one potential game changer they dreamed of. But in the NBA, nobody can hide their flaws for too long before getting exposed. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. I'm not talking about guys who's playing overseas right now, the likes of Thomas Robinson, Anthony Bennett, Mario Hezonja, Don Maker, or Dragon Bender. Huge disappointments, some of whom been out the league for years now. While the famous Bennett still only 29 years old, last played an NBA game over half a decade ago. Opportunities after opportunities, all these guys who's played for multiple teams, same results with the lack of production, just didn't work out for them. Most of us knows there's a 99% chance neither one of these 5 guys will play another NBA game again. Hezonja the most likely. Now, let's take a look at 10 former lottery pick free agents that are unsigned heading into the 2023 season, age 30 and younger, who might never play another NBA game again. Enes Freedom, more viewed as a political figure than a basketball player, the 30-year-old continues to speak his mind about human rights issues, officially became a US citizen December 2021, changed his legal name to Enes Freedom, recalls that being the most unforgettable moment of his life. Fearlessly spoke out against the names of LeBron James, but given how the NBA freaked out about the Daryl Morey situation, of course the league praying for Canada to be quiet and feud to lose billions. Enes has a point, strongly believe he's blacklisted from the NBA. The 6'10 center does have a reason. After a solid 2021 season with the Blazers, averaging 11-11, super efficient shooting over 60% from the field, 72 games played with the Blazers, despite being poor on defense for all his career, played over 24 minutes, but significantly reduced with the 2022 Celtics, under 12 minutes a game, 3.7 points and 4.6 rebounds, 35 games just doesn't make that much sense. Then traded to Houston, China's most popular team, and waived in February 14, a not so very loving, crushing, extremely disappointing Valentine's Day. Career numbers of 11 and 8, given his activity with social justice, already made $104 million from the league, and many knowing the NBA's worst nightmare, I honestly don't see Kanter being signed anytime soon, and when he does, will probably be a couple years later, in his mid-30s, when he's diminished, only for a team to cut him afterwards. Dion Waiters, who continued to wait longer to get signed after his unprofessionalism and arrogance with the Miami Heat, the 30-year-old basically got a free ring in the bubble. Career numbers of 13 points, can absolutely still play at the NBA level, but given his style of play as a bad shot taker and not being a spot-up 3-and-D type, the headaches he's caused as a bad locker room guy severely tarnished his image. Doesn't seem like he'll put in the work and be as dedicated as others. Last we heard from him attended a Mavs minicamp. The former 4th pick in the 2011 draft should be viewed as a mature vet, but his behavior shows otherwise. I don't see Waiters playing another NBA game again. Michael Carter-Williams, who miraculously held on for years after regressing, will already turn 31 October 10th, will be sadly remembered as one of the worst players all time to win the Rookie of the Year award. Numbers of nearly 17 points, over 6 and 6 and 2 steals, peaked his very first game for the tanking Sixers, to being a bench guy who bounced around for 6 different teams from nearly 35 minutes played in his rookie season to drop to 18 minutes. Significantly drop off numbers. Some thought he'd be the next Kidd, but an awful outside shooter, brutal times with the Hornets, missed too many layups, bad finisher at the rim, to being nearly out the league until Houston gave him a chance in 2018, to trade it to the Bulls, then waived and saved by the Magic 2019, got rewarded with a multiple-year deal after showing toughness in the playoffs. Last played in 2021, averaged over 8, 4 and 4 in 26 minutes played before getting hurt for the Magic. Underwent ankle surgery, ruled out the start of the 21-22 season, only to be waived in February, played 0 games. Given his poor shooting at his age, where many guys run out of opportunities, I can see MCW getting picked up for a 10-day contract and sniff the court 20 more times before he's officially out the league for good. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, the former number 2 pick out of national champion Kentucky in the 2012 draft, wasn't picked up by anybody the 22 season. The true definition of a draft bust, the very soon-to-be 29-year-old, having career numbers of 8.4 points, 5.4 rebounds, never fully developed into a good offensive player, most known for 2 things sadly. 1, his ugly, weird-looking jumper. Growing up with AAU ball, plus being on a loaded college squad where all he had to do was focus on defense, allowed him to hide his flaws offensively. The fact that he became the second overall pick shooting like that, an absolute travesty! Thanks to incredible college teammate Anthony Davis, MKG would have likely been picked outside the top 5 if he was the true face of a weaker college team. While number 2, his famous stat, remembered versus Carmelo Anthony getting absolutely destroyed, abused, annihilated, and humiliated at 6'7", pretty athletic, projected to be a multiple-time All-Star with elite defense, but simply never had the skills to be a successful number 2 pick thanks to AAU in high school. After hampered by series of injuries and an extension, waived by the Hornets in 2020, picked up by Dallas, last played in the bubble, then waived by the Knicks, $72 million made to sneak his way high to the NBA. I don't see MKG playing another game in the NBA again. Shabazz Muhammad, who was recently invited to a workout with the LA Lakers, a name many haven't thought of in years, last played in 2018 with the Bucks, numbers of 9 points, 2.8 rebounds, wasn't much as a team player even in college, undisciplined early on after not getting along with new head coach Thibodeau, so angry demanded out, went to the G League, ineffective even during prime COVID with players quarantining and others like Lance Stevenson and Greg Monroe getting called up, from being ranked the second best player in the 2012 high school class to projected as a top 3 pick only to drop to 14. Now 29 years old, Muhammad knows his time's running out, maybe a training camp invite, but teams knowing his history probably won't give him another chance, plus being much older than all the younger guys looking for a roster spot at a disadvantage. Meyers Leonard, the 30-year-old hasn't played since January of 2021, made a terrible mistake, caught yelling an anti-Semitic slur while live streaming, story ran like wildfire. That moment could have been the fatal flaw that cost his NBA career. Picked 11 in 2012, nothing more than a role player, was already somewhat borderline to begin with, numbers of 5.6 points, 4 rebounds, good outside shooter at 7 foot, also dealt with injury. OKC waived him, given too many other players who can put up his numbers off the bench. Every time his name gets mentioned, the incident will always be brought up before any of his on-court moments. Jabari Parker, a tragic downfall, once viewed as the best high school prospect since LeBron and a near guaranteed sure thing compared to the likes of Carmelo and Paul Pierce, the 27-year-old heading into the 23 season, still a free agent. His time, unfortunately, appears to have passed. Career numbers of 14 points, 5.5 rebounds, over 49% shooting. Prime numbers look sharp in year 3. Seemed like he was putting everything together before tearing his ACL 51 games into that season, the same one he tore his rookie year, passed around like a blunt the last 4 seasons on 5 different teams since Milwaukee let him walk for nothing in free agency, and won a championship without him. Last 2 years averaging 5 points a game, 11 minutes play, going backwards to 2014. If someone was to tell you the Bucks would be champions in 2021, 99% of people assume Parker would be the reason why and probably be the finals MVP. Jabari's supposed to be like what Giannis is to Milwaukee right now, but now without a team. From insanely high expectations, him and Andrew Wiggins viewed as the next LeBron and Melo to carry the next generations of superstars. His big heavy movements, change of directions for his big body, a huge concern for lower body injuries at 6'8", nearly 250. Not all muscle, has some chubbiness in him, wasn't the same after coming back from his second ACL tear. 4th season with the Bucks, played the same position as Giannis, and seeing the Greek Freak's growth buried to the sidelines, struggled to fit in, signed with his hometown Bulls, already labeled damaged goods and injury prone, signed 2 years 40. After Fred Hoiberg got let go, Jim Boylan hated Parker, especially when Jabari mentioned that the league don't pay players to play defense, a quote that seems to have haunted him severely. Boylan benched him for Bobby Portis, then traded to Washington, declined his option, then to Atlanta, injured his shoulder, then Sacramento, 9 games, Boston, 22 games in 2 seasons, waived January 2022. Given all his injuries, you would think he's 32, but should be entering the early stages of his prime, no longer explosive, likely shattered confidence, regress heavily. The league also don't wait for injury-prone players to assert themselves back, they just get rid of them. That's just the simple truth. A player many thought would be a multiple-time All-Star and All-NBA caliber, but sadly, Parker might no longer play for an NBA team going forward. Alfred Payton, not so long ago was the Knicks starting point guard. Now age 28, former 10 pick in 2014, played 50 games with the 2022 Suns, 11 minutes, 3 points a game, before putting up double-digit scoring numbers for 6 straight seasons, mostly on bad teams. Very bad shooter, only saw the floor for 4 playoff games total. Knicks fans pray Payton wouldn't play a single minute. Being a turnover machine, Tibbs gave him twice as much playing time compared to the other more deserving young guys, has lots of Russell Westbrook-like moments, talked about as the worst starting point guard in 2021. Many times when driving to the basket, either gets his shot blocked or loses the ball, even blocked by his hair once. Shoots too much. I only see Payton get signed when the starting and backup point guard for one team both goes down at the same time. Hard to imagine any contenders wanting him on their squad. Emmanuel Mudiay, the former 7 pick 2015 class, once talked about as the best point guard in his draft and possibly even going top 3 if he went to college instead of overseas. Dealt with injuries in China, age 26, 4 different teams played, just 2 games with the 2022 Kings on a 10-day deal, also listed at 6'5 before turning pro, but realistically only around 6'3. Relied too much on getting to the basket, bad outside shooter, his role decreased after his rookie year with Denver. While the team made Jamal Murray their starting point guard, no more room for Mudiay. Before being the starting point guard for the Knicks, averaged nearly 15 a game, empty stats on a bad team, ended up on a minimum deal with the Jazz, looking to prove himself. His production reduced to half, needs the ball in his hands to be effective, not starting caliber, and can't score well enough to be the main focus for a bench unit. A combination of his play style being stuck in no man's land, will likely end up playing overseas for a few years before trying to make one last comeback. Kris Dunn, one of the most underwhelming 5th overall picks, trying to prove he's not done. Played college ball at Providence, injuries, the story of his career, even in his college days, one of the more shocking players that didn't pan out in the NBA. Excellent on defense, very fast speed with great athleticism, shades of Devin Harris speed with Drew Holiday defensive potential, mentioned in the same name as John Wall, similar to many athletic point guards from the 2000s. The story of his career, simply couldn't stay on the floor, needed surgery for a torn labrum his first year in college, then 4 games into his sophomore season, tears his shoulder and needed surgery again, bounced back in a big way, named Big East Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year in back-to-back seasons, taken 5th overall by Minnesota, only to back up Ricky Rubio, then traded in the Jimmy Butler package. A multitude of injuries. Every time Dunn seems like he's about to get something going, a setback of injuries, 1 step forward, then taking 2 steps backwards, combined with the fast-paced, impatient scouts of the NBA. Second season, averaging over 13 a game, 6 assists and 2 steals solid, but played just 46 games in 2019. 51 the next, lost his starting spot on the Bulls to Thomas Satoransky, signed with the Hawks, played just 4 games, needed surgery to remove a loose cartilage on his ankle. With more young point guards coming to the league, despite still being young, too much time has passed with the short attention span of the NBA, likely already missed his window and grow the opportunity, signing a long-term contract. Very unlikely now. Later traded to Boston and again to Memphis, then waived, only to be out the league from the start of the 21-22 season till March. 14 games for the tanking Blazers. If healthy, Dunn could have been a multiple-time defensive teamer. I do believe the 28-year-old will be signed again, but another injury or 2, teams might just simply ignore him. While Dennis Smith Jr. just got signed to a 1-year deal from the Hornets, I do believe Ben McLemore will play again after putting up double-digit scoring numbers a year ago. Former high picks in Dante Exum and Jahlil Okafor now overseas. Both might try for a comeback, still in their mid-20s. Another free agent I'll mention who's not in the league, not because of his production on the court, but his disastrous actions off the court. 24 years old Miles Bridges, an absolute travesty. Not only was he about to sign for at least $100 million, all that flushed down the toilet, accused for facing 3 felony charges, pleaded not guilty. Disgusting pictures on social media. After putting up over 20 points and 7 rebounds, one of the most athletic players and a borderline all-star, the preliminary hearings for his charges moved to September 29, can face up to 12 years in prison, which would end his career if he does get a few years and can still perform at a high level in his mid-20s. Don't be shocked if Bridges plays again in the NBA in the future. All the other guys on this list, either borderline NBA players or no longer productive NBA players, depending on the punishment of Bridges' outcome, that will impact his future severely. Thank you so much for watching this video. Which one of these players are you shocked by that are still free agents and not signed by any NBA team? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe for more content, more good stuff coming soon. I love all of you. See you next time.